What we are claiming about Ukraine is that, in fact, this political force wants to satisfy Brussels. This is the proposal for Hungary to join Brussels policy, which leads to support for Ukraine, which leads to support for migration, which leads to the adoption of gender policy, which leads to the need for tax increases, austerity, and pension cuts to continue to finance Ukraine. This is it. In the last few weeks, especially in the light of the visit to Washington, I think it was clear to everyone, even to those in the middle who were not sure, that Viktor Orban is an experienced, decisive, strong, intelligent leader who can find a voice with the leaders of the major powers, a serious politician. What we see from our own research is that there has been a significant increase in popularity because of what has happened on this visit.
We've connected what needed to be connected. There are mornings like this. The golden toilet, or golden WC, I promised this. A letter came yesterday from Ursula von der Leyen, not just here to Hungary, but to all the prime ministers of the Union. And she is expecting support. She is expecting money, because she says that the financing of Ukraine is not solved even for 2026, and she believes this should be solved by the EU member states.
The fact that the president of the European Commission is the biggest supporter of Ukraine after this Ukrainian war MAFIA scandal has come to light is not Russian fake news, but images of the gold toilet are starting to circulate in the Western press. I don't know, the bag of money pictures are starting to spread. He then writes a letter to all the heads of state and government saying that what we have given Ukraine so far is not enough, and that one of the biggest funding packages in the history of the European Union will have to be put together by all the member states for Ukraine in the coming years. So here I haven't seen the video of the Prime Minister on this. He is trying to write a letter, but I told him I cannot help him because I am at a loss for words, whether to send back some object or, I do not know, throw it out of the window or not. It is so blood-curdling that it is simply intolerable. So we pour European taxpayers' money into a country. We pour European taxpayers' money into the government of a country. In a war that goes nowhere, where masses of senseless people die, and the elite take the subsidies home. And meanwhile, at home, this liberal elite in Brussels is explaining to Europeans why there is no money to improve competitiveness, why there is no money to support companies, why there is no money for cheap energy. So you are looking at 180 billion more in a given amount of time. Of course, you say it will be enough for 4 years, but you said it would be enough for 4 years, and then here we are in a year and a half, and you are asking for the money again. So let us give 180 billion to Ukraine. And we in Hungary are going to be very, very firm on this, even if they come to us, even if they confront us. It simply cannot be allowed to happen in the next 5 years. Whatever happens in a neighboring country, that the Hungarian people's money is not spent on Hungary, but on Ukraine.
On the one hand, Ursula von der Leyen writes in a letter that she thinks the war will end in 26. But until then, we need money, a lot of money, either to take away the Russian assets in European banks or to take out a joint loan, and together we would be in debt. Or if that does not work either, she asks the member states all to throw in something.
The seizure of Russian assets is not a game because European countries, including Hungary, have significant assets in Russia not by the state, but by private companies. So it is obviously a fair assumption. The Prime Minister has also spoken to the Russian president, who has made it clear that if such a move is made, countermeasures will be taken. This means that European Hungarian assets will be seized in Russia. These are the biggest Hungarian companies, the ones that employ the most Hungarians and can do the most to increase the number of jobs in Hungary and to raise wages. We do not want to live with that. The solution is that each member state decides for itself in a sovereign way whether it will pay the amount that is acceptable, and then Hungary does the same. If other member states refuse to give, then obviously the whole European project will collapse like a row of dominoes. The Great Russian War in Europe in 2030 has been announced. And the reason why Ukraine's accession to the EU is key in that war strategy is that the war can only be waged from Ukraine if Ukraine is a member of the European Union. So you can justify why EU funds go there, because then the funds are not going to a non-EU country, but to support an EU country. We will not go to war in 2030 even if you stand on your heads. That is why this election is so important, because it will be the last parliamentary election before 2030. We do not know when there will be a result or exactly what the result will be. But it seems to be a coalition of the willing in Europe who have decided that they are willing to go to war even if the US pulls out of this story. They want to make funding decisions by the end of the year to prepare for the war that will start in 2003. There will be two such decision points. One of those decision points is in the coming months, and the next decision point is in the next cycle.
Macron received the opposition and agreed to use European money to buy 100 fighter jets for Zelensky. I do not know what weapons the French have yet, and they have gone to a military base where a multi-ethnic force will be trained or directed.
You are putting your children and grandchildren in debt, and then you are giving away the money that your military-industrial companies make. And then I will not go on. How does this get back? Probably, or presumably, or according to the bad language, into the elite and the circles in which it tends to get back. This is the system they are trying to put together. It was fantastic. It was a great pride to be a Hungarian in Washington and in the White House.